Al-Ghazali's profound insights about the role of dreams in spiritual development. The ultimate goal, according to Al-Ghazali, is not to live in the dream world, but to bring the clarity and insight you gain from dreams into your daily life. When you develop the ability to remember and understand your dreams, you're actually developing a more integrated form of consciousness that operates effectively on multiple levels simultaneously. Modern psychology is just beginning to understand what Al-Ghazali taught centuries ago, that dreams are not meaningless, but are actually a form of processing and integration that serves important psychological and spiritual functions. Recent research shows that people who remember their dreams tend to be more creative, more emotionally intelligent, and more in touch with their unconscious patterns. But Al-Ghazali went much further than modern psychology. He understood that dreams can be a direct channel for spiritual guidance, a way for your soul to receive information and insight that your ordinary mind could never access on its own. Think about your own experience. Haven't there been times when you woke up from a dream with a sense of having learned something important, even if you couldn't quite remember what it was? Haven't there been dreams that left you with a feeling of peace or clarity or direction, even though the specific content faded? According to Al-Ghazali, these feelings are not illusions. They're evidence that your soul did indeed receive something valuable during the dream state. The fact that you can't remember the details doesn't mean the benefit was lost. Often the most important gifts from dreams are received at a level deeper than conscious memory. This is why Al-Ghazali encouraged people not to be frustrated by their inability to remember dreams, but instead to focus on becoming the kind of person who could benefit from whatever their soul experienced during sleep, whether they remembered it or not. He taught that when you live with integrity, when you're honest in your relationships, when you're generous with others and grateful for what you have, when you regularly remember the divine source of all existence, you're creating the conditions for your soul to receive guidance through dreams. Even if your mind can't always recall the specifics, the real question, according to Al-Ghazali, is not why can't I remember my dreams, but what kind of person am I becoming, and how is that affecting what my soul is able to receive and integrate? Because ultimately, whether you remember your dreams or not, they are working on you. They are part of the larger process by which your consciousness evolves, by which your understanding deepens, by which your connection to truth becomes stronger. Al-Ghazali discovered that the inability to remember dreams is not a limitation to overcome, but a mercy to be grateful for. It means that your soul is being cared for and guided at levels beyond what your ordinary mind could handle. It means that your spiritual development is being supported in ways you may never fully understand. And perhaps that's the most profound teaching of all, that the divine works through us and for us in ways that exceed our conscious awareness, and that learning to trust this process is itself a form of spiritual maturity. So tonight, when you go to sleep, don't worry about whether you'll remember your dreams. Instead, trust that whatever your soul needs to receive, it will receive. And focus on becoming the kind of person who can benefit from the guidance that comes through dreams, whether you remember them or not. Because according to Al-Ghazali, this is how spiritual development really works. Not through forcing our way into higher states of consciousness, but through preparing ourselves to receive what is already being offered and trusting the wisdom that operates beyond the reach of our ordinary understanding. Last night you dreamed, you know you did. But this morning, when you tried to remember what happened in that other world, it slipped away like water through your fingers. Why does this happen? Why can you spend 8 hours in a vivid, detailed reality only to have it vanish the moment you open your eyes? Al-Ghazali discovered the answer 900 years ago. And when you understand it, you'll never see your dreams or your waking life the same way again. Most people think they can't remember their dreams because their brain is simply clearing out unnecessary information while they sleep. Modern neuroscience tells us that dreams are just random neural firings, meaningless electrical impulses that our mind tries to organize into stories. But Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, one of the greatest Islamic scholars who ever lived, discovered something radically different. Born in 1058 in what is now Iran, Al-Ghazali was not just a religious scholar. He was a philosopher, a mystic, and perhaps most importantly, a scientist of consciousness. At the height of his career, he was considered the most influential intellectual in the Islamic world. Students traveled from across continents just to hear him speak. He had everything: fame, respect, knowledge that others could only dream of. But then something happened that changed everything. Al-Ghazali began to question not just what he knew, but how he knew it. He realized that most of what people call knowledge is just information passed down from others. He wanted to know truth directly, not secondhand. And it was during this quest that he made his revolutionary discovery about dreams. Al-Ghazali understood that human consciousness operates on multiple levels. There's the level of the senses, what you see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. There's the level of reason, your ability to think, analyze, and understand. But beyond these, there's a third level that most people never access, the level of direct spiritual insight. Dreams, according to Al-Ghazali, are not random neural activity. They are glimpses into this deeper level of consciousness. When you dream, your soul temporarily steps outside the limitations of physical reality and experiences truth more directly. In dreams, you're not bound by the laws of physics. You can fly. You can be in multiple places at once. You can speak with people who have died. You can access knowledge you've never learned. But here's the crucial part. Most people can't remember their dreams, not because their brain is defective, but because their waking consciousness is not prepared to handle the information they received while dreaming. Think about it this way. Imagine you're a person who has lived your entire life in a small village, never traveling more than a few miles from home. Then one night, you're magically transported to a vast metropolis with skyscrapers, technology, and millions of people. You spend hours exploring this incredible world, seeing things that would completely revolutionize your understanding of what's possible. But when you wake up back in your village, how much of that experience could you actually retain? How would you even have words to describe technologies you've never seen, concepts your culture has never developed, experiences that don't fit into your existing framework of reality? This is what happens with dreams. According to Al-Ghazali, your soul visits realms of consciousness that your ordinary mind simply cannot process or store. The forgetting isn't a malfunction. It's a protective mechanism. Al-Ghazali believed that remembering too much of what we experience in dreams could actually be dangerous for most people. If you suddenly had access to information about the future, about the nature of death, about the interconnectedness of all things, but you weren't spiritually prepared to handle that knowledge, it could drive you insane or fill you with unbearable anxiety. But he also taught that as a person develops spiritually, their capacity to remember and integrate dream experiences increases. The more you purify your heart, the more you can handle the truths that your soul encounters during sleep. This is why Al-Ghazali spent so much time writing about spiritual development. He understood that the goal isn't just to remember your dreams, but to become the kind of person who can safely receive and benefit from the knowledge that dreams provide. He described several types of dreams. Some are indeed just the mind processing the day's experiences, what he called confused dreams. But others are genuine spiritual visions. There are dreams that provide guidance for your life, dreams that offer warnings about future challenges, dreams that connect you with spiritual teachings, and dreams that give you direct experience of spiritual realities. The key, according to Al-Ghazali, is developing what he called the eye of the heart, a form of perception that operates beyond the physical senses and beyond ordinary reasoning. This inner eye can recognize which dreams carry real spiritual significance and which are merely mental noise. But here's where Al-Ghazali's teaching becomes really practical. He said that the reason most people struggle to develop this inner perception is because they're too attached to the external world. When you're constantly distracted by desires, fears, ambitions, and the endless mental chatter of daily life, your consciousness becomes too dense to receive subtle spiritual information. But this is why, in his most famous work, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, Al-Ghazali writes extensively about practices that quiet the mind and purify the heart. He understood that dream work isn't separate from spiritual development. It's an integral part of it. He taught that certain practices can increase your ability to remember and understand your dreams. Regular meditation creates space in your consciousness for subtle impressions to be retained. Reducing your attachment to material things makes you more sensitive to spiritual experiences. Practicing gratitude and remembrance of the divine aligns your consciousness with higher frequencies of truth. But Al-Ghazali also warned against becoming obsessed with dreams. He saw some people who became so focused on their dream experiences that they neglected their responsibilities in waking life. He taught that dreams are meant to support and enhance your spiritual development, not replace it. Do you want me